So you've seen the title and this thumbnail, and you may be wondering, well, AG, how are you going to determine which mythic bee is the best when each mythic bee is good in certain aspects while some are better in other aspects? Now, dear viewer, that is a really good point. I can't. This video will be going over only 2 categories since it's very hard to cover like 6 or 7 categories, especially in just one video. So I will just be going over the main ones. Oh yeah, when I mean mythic bees, I mean an entire hive of mythic bees. Yeah, that means you're going to be having 50 precise bees and 50 of every other bee whenever it's their turn. The bees will also be level 20 and gifted, no mutations or any other buffs except for badges since those are automatically claimed when you join the test mode, but that shouldn't matter too much. Anyway, the categories for this video will be attack and honey making. Now obviously there has to be rules, so I'll explain the ones for attack first since I will be going over the attack portion of the video first. The reason why I'm going to be doing attack first is because we can actually calculate that much easier. That's right, this is secretly a math video, but only for the attacking part of this video since I can't really do math for the honey making part of this video. However, I will explain the abilities for the honey making section, but I won't take too long since I already did that in part 1 of this video. Anyway, onto the rules. Here are the rules for the attacking portion of this video. No gear are allowed other than the starting stuff, with one exception, boots. This is because you are super slow and you wouldn't be able to collect ability tokens, so I'm going to give the player boots. For instance, this would disadvantage precise bees since you need to be fast in order to get all the targets. For this reason, I will also be using an oil. No other buffs that can help attack will be used. Each bee will have 3 minutes without any preparation to deal as much damage as possible. Time starts once the first hit lands, and that's pretty much it. For the honey making part of the video, here are the rules. No gear allowed again other than the boots. I will also be using an oil for the same reason as before. The buffs will be 1 extract for whatever color the bee is, except for colorless bees, which I will just give them a 1.2 times multiplier, like an extract, since if I use a tropical drink, it would give them critical chance. But only the precise bees should naturally have critical chance of all these bees. The field for red hives will be the pepper patch, pine tree for the blue hives, and spider field for white hives. This means the 1.2 times multiplier works out perfectly since all the flowers in the spider field are white. Since I don't want to fill up immediately, we will be using festive beans for this. Each mythic bee gets 5 minutes to collect as much pollen/honey as possible. Again, the bees will not be given any preparation time, so I'm so sorry MP fans, it looks like you're not going to be winning that part of the video. That's about it for the rules though. Alright, let's get into the theoretical damage that each bee should do. We will be measuring damage per second, and we will assume one attack is about 1 second, although I don't think that's true. We will also be assuming the most possible amount of damage just for fun because I don't really want to go into statistical probabilities, which will happen very quickly once I start talking about precise bees and spicy bees. So we will just assume that every time Inferno is summoned, it summons gifted fire bees, and every single time precise bee hits, it's a super critical chance. There was 4 bees that have some sort of ability that help them attack, so we'll go over them later. First, let's go over the bees that don't really have any sort of attacking abilities. The Vector Bee. Starting with the Vector Bee, it's pretty simple to calculate the total damage per second. It's just base attack times 1.5 since they're gifted, and gifted bees have 1.5 times attack. Then times 50 since there's 50 bees. That's legit all you need to do, giving us a final result of 375 damage per second. Next is the Fuzzy Bee. Again, with no attacking abilities, it's the same formula as before. Base attack, which is 3 times 1.5 times 50, giving us a total damage per second of 225. Next is the Tadpole Bee, which on its own does 0.5 damage, which is pretty bad, but they actually have a trick up their sleeve. Frogs. We're going to assume they summon all 50 frogs at once, which is pretty much impossible, but we don't care since this is theoretical. So first, let's get the base attack of the Tadpole Bees. So it'd be 0.5 times 1.5 times 50, which gives us 37.5, which is terrible, but now let's count the frogs. Oh yeah, frogs do 5 times the damage of Tadpole Bee. If the frog is gifted, it does 50% more damage. We will assume that every frog that got summoned is somehow gifted, so then we do base attack of the Tadpole Bee being 0.75, since the gifted Tadpole Bee is 1.5 times 0.5, it gives us 0.75. Then do 5 times to get us 3.75, and then an extra plus 50% to give us 5.625 damage per frog. Then we multiply that by 50 since we have 50 frogs to leave us at 281.25 damage per second with the frogs. Then we add that to the base attack of the Tadpole Bees with the base attack of the frogs to leave us at 318.75 damage per second. Next, let's go over the only bee that has a way to multiply its attack using a passive ability. The Buoyant Bee. It has a passive ability called Balloon Enthusiast that gives it times 3 attack when it's at max balloon blessing. I don't actually know what the max balloon blessing is, but let's just call it X and let's assume that we got it. The new formula would be base attack, which is 3 times 1.5 times 3 times 50, giving us a total damage per second of 675 damage. Now for the Spicy Bee, this is where it gets pretty complicated, so pay attention. First, let's look at all their important abilities, Inferno and Rage. Rage gives +4 bee attack, and Inferno gives +25% bee attack, and 2 fire bees that can be gifted. So there's a lot to unpack here. First, let's look at the base attack of both the Spicy and Fire Bee. Spicy Bee has a base attack of 5, and Fire Bee has a base attack of 4. So let's add +4 from the Rage ability token, putting us at 9 base attack for the Spicy Bee and 8 base attack for the Fire Bee. Now let's add +25% since Inferno gives Flame Heat, which gives +25% more attack. So that puts the Fire Bee at 10 and the Spicy Bee at 11.25. Then lastly, let's give them their 1.5 times multiplier for being gifted. This puts our final numbers for each bee at 16.875 for the Spicy Bee and 15 for the Fire Bee. But wait, it gets even better. Inferno actually summons 2 Fire Bees, so in total we have 150 bees attacking a single mob at once. So then we do 100 times 15 to get the Fire Bee's base attack and 16.875 times 50 for the Spicy Bee's base attack. This leaves us with the Fire Bees doing 1500 damage per second, and the Spicy Bee is doing 843.75 damage per second. We add them together to get a grand total of 2343.75 damage per second. Now you may be thinking there is no way any other bee can top that, but you must be forgetting about the goat of attack himself. Well, Precise Bee is an interesting case. He's the only mythic bee that can have focus spawn naturally and the only bee in the game, with exception to the goat of event bees, Tabby Bee, who can have super critical chance spawn naturally. Well, you see, his base attack is 8, but let's count all of the multipliers first. First, since he's gifted, there's a 1.5 times multiplier. Then since he's Precise Bee and has a passive ability called Sniper, he does ×2 damage. Then a critical hit does ×2 damage as well. On top of that, super critical chance gives an extra 33% attack. That's everything, then times 50 for the total damage per second. So to find the base attack of one Precise Bee, that would be 8 times 100% plus 33% times 1.5 times 2 times 2 again, which leaves us at 63.84 damage per second per Precise Bee. But there's 50 of them, so then we do this times 50. That leaves us at a grand total of 3,192 damage per second. That means our winner should be the Precise Bee, but well, you see, not every hit will be super critical or even a critical hit for that matter. But the same could be said for the Spicy Bee, since you can't have all 100 Fire Bees attacking at once, and they may not even be gifted Fire Bees. Well, let's see the actual results according to our data. First, let's start with last place, being the Tadpole Bee. With only 9,000 damage in 3 minutes? That's a little weird. How could they do so little, you may be asking? Well, first of all, you're not getting all 50 frogs at once. Second of all, these frogs not only aren't gifted, but they aren't constantly attacking the stump stand like a bee would. And of course, they have a slow move speed. Now, you may be wondering, how does move speed matter at all in terms of attack? And that's a great question, and I actually couldn't answer that.
I can. Hi, Mr. Sir here. So the reason move speed matters is really simple. Think about it like this. You're in a store and you need to get a bunch of different items. If you're faster, you can get to each item quicker and get out of the store. The same thing can be applied to Spicy Bees. Since they have to manually attack, move speed makes them indirectly deal more damage by allowing the bee to reach the next point where it'll attack from faster. This also lets the bee roll for and spawn abilities faster, and both of these are the reason why endgame players go after move speed mutations a lot, and explains how what happens later happens. With that being said, I'll see you around.
I guess that was actually a very good explanation. Thank you, Mr. Sir. Anyway, in 5th and 4th place, we have the Fuzzy and technically Buoyant Bee. The Fuzzy Bee got 34,600 damage in 3 minutes, and the Buoyant Bee only doing 1,000 more damage at 35,600 damage in 3 minutes. The reason why I say technically is because if we give them max Balloon Blitz, they would have 106,800 damage, which actually puts them above the Vector Bee, who's in 3rd place, with 54,800 damage. Again, it's up to you to say who's 3rd and 4th place, but if you allowed Buoyant Bee to have max Balloon Blessing, it would destroy the Vector Bee, doing almost double the amount of damage. But without it, it only does 60% as much damage. Anyway, for 2nd and 1st place winner, I think we all know who won the attacking portion. Wait a minute, the Spicy Bee won? Yeah, that's right, Spicy Bee actually won here, doing 205,000 damage, compared to the Precise Bee's 195,000 damage. Now, there's a perfectly logical explanation for this: move speed. Spicy Bee had a hidden trick up its sleeve, that it has a passive ability called Steam Engine. Pretty much, when exposed to flame heat, it can pretty much double its move speed, meaning it attacks really fast. This is what Mr. Sir was hinting at earlier in the video. This, on top of the fact Precise Bee is super slow in terms of base speed, since it's carrying a whole gun on its head, and since it's actually the slowest attacking bee in the game because of its passive ability Sniper, which gives it ×2 damage in exchange for being a really slow attacker. This is why Precise Bee lost to Spicy Bee. If it wasn't for the Steam Engine ability, Precise Bee would have won this easily. If it makes you Precise Bee fans out there, including me, feel any better about this, there is a universe where Precise Bee actually wins, only hitting super critical chances every single attack. But that's not this universe, so let's move on to the honey making portion of this video. Alright, in order to make a guess who's going to win, let's first just briefly look at all the bees. I've made a much more detailed look at each bee's mythical abilities in part 1, so I won't take too long on this. Let's look at the fuzzy bee first. Obviously, it's mainly going to be helpful by making the spider field turn 100% gifted to your flowers, which is super helpful, but its other abilities are pretty much just bomb tokens. Its gifted ability make those bomb tokens automatically collect, and that's kind of it. Honestly, all that the fuzzy bee has going for them is just their fuzz bombs. Next, let's talk about the vector bee. The vector bee will have a stable 2.5 times pollen because of the pollen mark ability. Its main ability, Triangulate, becomes way stronger with each mark it hits, so this can possibly lead them to win depending on how things work out for them. The gifted ability is pretty much a much better bomb token, and it works on all the marks in the field, so the vector bee should be having a pretty good time in this challenge. Now let's talk about the spicy bee. It's mostly going to be relying on flame, and they will have a really fast gather amount and ×2 red pollen because of flame heat. But other than that, they're probably not going to do so well here. Now let's go over the buoyant bee. Now look, again, I will not be giving them any preparation time, but I will show the results of what would happen if you gave them 100 times balloon blessing versus if they had 0 balloon blessing. So I'll show a range of the amount of honey versus the potential amount that could be made. Its main source of pollen here will be blue bombs, which isn't as good as our next contestant, the tadpole bee. They are truly going to be a top dog in this challenge. They have a blue boost, which at max can give 3 times blue pollen, and baby love, which is an additional ×2 pollen. And the frogs make bubbles. In case you didn't know, bubbles are the main source of pollen for blue hive, which means each bubble is better at collecting pollen than a blue bomb. And of course, there's going to be a dozen frogs in the field making for hundreds of bubbles, which can be gifted, collecting way more pollen. This should be a very interesting lineup against the next bee, the precise bee. They are the only bee of these 6 that can use critical chance and super critical chance. On top of that, they have a red boost ability, which gives them ×3 red pollen as well. Focus, token link, red boost, super critical chance, and precise mark all in one ability. Truly interesting to see who wins this competition. The main 2 people in this experiment seem to be Precise Bee and Tadpole Bee. However, the results couldn't have surprised me more. Well, let's start with the lowest performing bees. The worst bee for this experiment is either the Fuzzy Bee or Buoyant Bee. Without any balloon blessing, Buoyant Bee only makes 100.5 million honey. Keep in mind the number feels low, and that's because I had pretty much no gear or amulets, and there's not much stuff to make the numbers bigger. With 100 times balloon blessing, it makes closer to 200 million, which puts them above Fuzzy Bee, who made 119 million. So you decide which one is in last place in the comments. Anyway, in 4th place we have the Spicy Bee. Since flames aren't exactly the best source of pollen, they only ended up making 272 million honey. So that's not that bad. But in 3rd place we have a huge surprise. The Precise Bee? Yep, turns out they aren't as good as we thought for collecting pollen, only beating the Spicy Bee by about 8%, with a total of 293 million honey made. This may be because of how low the base attack of the Precise Bees are without any buffs or gear, so that's why the pollen collection is pretty low. And of course there's no flame heat, so it's not as well as it could have been. In 2nd place we have the only bee that makes sense, since obviously the tadpole wins. Right? Wait, the tadpole bee is in 2nd place? Somehow they didn't end up winning even with all the buffs I mentioned. With a grand total of 364 million honey, they got 2nd place, leaving the Vector Bee to be our winner for the best honey making mythical bee. I would like to say it was close, but it really wasn't. Vector Bee with an absolutely monstrous 487 million total honey made, winning by over 120 million, or making 1.33 times more honey than the tadpole bees. Honestly, looking back, it makes a lot of sense. They have a constant 2.5 times pollen and triangulate and mark surge ability, and are good on their own already, but they are made even better by the fact there's like 20 marks in the field at any given moment, and each mark in the triangulate ability boosts pollen by plus 50% and doubles white pollen. They're also super fast, since the festive bean gives ×2 bee move speed, so they absolutely destroyed this challenge. Anyway, let's determine the ultimate winner for this challenge. Since there's 6 mythic bees, we're going to base this on a point system like this. For every bee that a certain bee does better than, they get 1 point, but every single bee was still worth 1 point. So getting 6th place is worth 1 point since you did better than no bees, but you start off with 1 point, you stay at 1 point. But if you're in 1st place, since you did better than every bee, you get 6 points, since you did better than 5 other bees and you start with 1 point. So if we look at all of our places, for the attack, Tadpole got 6th, Fuzzy Bee got 5th, Boyne is in 4th or 3rd place depending on how you look at it, Vector's in 4th or 3rd place depending on how you look at it, Precise Bee is in 2nd place, and Spicy Bee is in 1st place. For the honey places, Fuzzy Bee is in 6th or 5th place, Buoyant Bee is in 6th or 5th place, Spicy is in 4th place, Precise is in 3rd place, Tadpole is in 2nd place, and Vector Bee is in 1st place. Because Buoyant Bee is either one place or another depending on if you give them Balloon Blessing or not, I'll just give the Buoyant Bee and the bee they quote-unquote tied with half a point. So that means Fuzzy Bee would have 3.5 points, Buoyant Bee would have 5 points, Tadpole Bee would have 6 points, Spicy Bee would have 9 points, Precise Bee would also have 9 points, and the Vector Bee would have 9.5 points. Meaning our grand winner for this challenge is the Vector Bee, due to their amazing performance in pollen collecting and okay performance in attack. The Spicy Bee and Precise Bee are tied for 2nd for both their great performances in attack and pretty solid performances in pollen collection. The Tadpole Bee will be taking 3rd place, they could have had more points if they just did better in attack, and the Buoyant Bee will take 4th place due to their below average performance in both attack and honey making. And last, and certainly least, the Fuzzy Bee will be taking last place. It just goes to show why of all 3 hive colors you should never really see a Fuzzy Bee in any of those hives. Some do choose to run them, but I don't think it's ideal in most hives. I'm not going to say anything, but you know what hive color has all 3 of the top bees? Red hives. So like, I don't know, man, I'm not trying to say anything, but maybe red hives are the best. Well, that's it for this video. It took a super long time to make, and I want to thank some people, starting with obviously my editor. I know this was a very challenging video to make, so I'm sorry about that. This is the last video he will be making with us on this channel for a very long time, so everyone say farewell to Tugra. He's been an amazing person to work with, and I hope to be able to work with him in the future. And of course, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I'd say this is the biggest video I've ever made, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing. Maybe we'll reach 10k before the end of the year, although I doubt it. Of course, huge shout out to Mr. Sir for being in this video. They helped with some of the math in this video and explanations, so go check him out for more math related videos regarding Beesmas Simulator. His channel will be linked in the description and pinned comment. And thanks to Tarazi, she also helped with some of the math and explanations. And of course, thanks to my singular channel member, truly, I love you. If you want to become a channel member, just click the join button next to the subscribe. Oh yeah, there's this new feature called hype. I want to see if you guys can like hype this video up. I wonder how much hypes we can get. Maybe we can get in the leaderboard. There's like top 100 videos. Maybe. We'll see. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and maybe someday I'll make a part 3. Who knows, if this video gets like 1,000 likes. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.